that.
All right. Well, it was nice to meet you then. It was a pleasure speaking.
It was, man.
All right. Well, it was fun speaking with you, Andrew. God bless. And could you be wrong about everything you claim to know?
Yes.
So then ultimately you know nothing. And that's contradictory.
Everything.
But I asked you, could you be wrong about everything you claim to know?
Sure, absolutely.
So then essentially you know nothing. And if you know nothing, that's a contradictory statement, meaning that the foundation of your worldview is impossible. The way I see it is this, right? What you're trying to do, Andrew, is this. You have a roof, you have walls, you have the chandeliers, but you don't have a foundation. So you're trying to build a house on the air. What you're missing is a foundation. And that's why you need to believe in God, because God is that necessary foundation. God is a precondition for even this conversation to exist.
I do believe that a lot of Christians, for reasons that are very understandable, have bought into a system that lacks evidence.
What constitutes as evidence?
What we can generally all agree on.
So agreement is evidence. So then if everybody agreed that Christianity was true, would that make it true?
Man, that is the only way that we come to consensus on anything. I don't know what you want me to say.
That's a fallacy called the appeal to majority or appeal to common belief. That isn't. That's not evidence. Evidence is proof.
Has been shown to be more effective.
So was Nazi Germany proper evidence as how to live?
Nazi Germany is a small part of the world.
But in that part of the world, they all had a unanimous agreement on how to treat Jews. Does that mean that because they all agreed, that served as evidence that what they were doing was good? Because you said evidence is everybody agreeing. I would say I disagree with that.
Okay.
And I don't think that's a good standard of evidence, because then if everybody just agreed that Christianity was true, you'd have to be a Christian. But I'm sure you have something else that constitutes.
That's exactly kind of what we do see, is that when enough people agree that Christianity is true, then they all kind of try to get on board with that belief. And even when there's...
But is that evidence, though, is the question?
I would say it's...
Evidence is proof, right? Evidence is something that, proves something to be true. Everybody agreeing doesn't make it true. Because with that logic, Christianity is actually the leading religion in the world in terms of the most people who identify as Christians. So then with that logic, you should be a Christian.
Yeah, if Christianity met the things that I need from Christianity.
So then it isn't evidence then. So then that shows it isn't evidence, because you said evidence of truth is common belief. Christianity is the most common belief in terms of religion, but then you're saying that you reject it. So then it's not actually evidence. There's something else that you have that constitutes as evidence.
Okay.
And I'm curious, what is that evidence? Is it observation? Is it empiricism? Is it, our senses? What could that be?
How are you? Good to see you. I'll interrupt.
What's up?
Yeah. I got your tripod.
Oh yeah. I fixed it. So, but as a backup, yeah. But so then what for you constitutes as evidence, like for Andrew then? Because clearly it's not the common belief. There's got to be something else.
That's a really great question. And so what I would usually choose for my own evidence is I would first see what someone's saying, and then I would try and observe where it's true and where I can see it being true. And if I cannot observe it being true anywhere, or more specifically, I can observe contradictions to that, I would start to question that pretty fast, hopefully. And if I observe that a lot of those points fall in line with what I can see and observe, then I would assume, well, that feels like good evidence to me. But you're right. There's a lot of evidence that I pick because I don't have the time to investigate everything. Like methylmercury and ethylmercury. One's poisonous, one's apparently not. I'm not good enough in chemistry to understand why, but I just have to assume that somebody fucking knows what they're talking about out there.
Yeah.
So let's just assume vaccines work, because all the information that I'm aware of seems to indicate that, and I don't have the time and the energy to prove or disprove it.
So then you don't actually have evidence then, because you don't know if you've chosen the right scholars. You don't know if you've chosen.
That anybody has all the evidence, which is kind of what I've said a lot. And I don't think I need to have perfect understanding of everything in order to act.
But at least a rational understanding, right?
In a purposeful way.
Well, you know what I think this conversation demonstrates? Demonstrates that God is real. Because you examining evidence, you appealing to observation, appealing to all these metaphysical things that you believe to be as true, demonstrates that God exists, because without God, none of these things would be possible. So the very thing that you're searching for...
You certainly seem to think that's true, but I don't think that's true.
Well,
I think these things are possible without...
I think I can demonstrate that with the conversation, because you're presupposing that, logic makes sense. You're presupposing that your observations are helpful as an account for, instruments of knowledge and things of that nature.
I presuppose that my logic is a useful tool, not that it is objective. It is as useful a tool as I can find.
So you could be wrong then?
Of course.
So then you could be wrong about that statement as well.
So can you.
But then that means you could be wrong about every claim you make then.
Yes, I could be in some kind of weird brain fog, sleep-deprived state right now and have some kind of mental issue. I could find out that some part of my ability to perceive the world has been heavily altered by a drug or a chemical.
Yeah.
And that is a thing that actually happens in real life.
But I think that's the problem with your worldviews. Now you've just kind of given up knowledge. You've kind of abandoned knowledge and left it at the door.
No, I inspect knowledge more deeply, and I don't assume that I have the answers as soon as...
So then, could you be wrong about everything you claim to know?
Yes.
So then ultimately you know nothing.
I mean, if we're talking about like what is concretely we know 100% can never be disproven true, then yeah, I would say anything could theoretically be disproven.
But the problem is though, this conversation demonstrates the exact opposite. This conversation demonstrates that you have knowledge, that you're examining knowledge, that you're trying to find knowledge. But if you said that you can be wrong about everything you come to know, that means you essentially know nothing. And if you know nothing, this conversation wouldn't be possible. And that's the problem with your worldview.
What's the principle where the more you know about a field, the more you realize you don't know? Do you remember what that's called?
I know what you're referring to, but I don't think it applies here.
Yeah, I don't think so, because even in that, you're saying the more you know, meaning you can know things, but you said you can't know anything.
Well, again, there's an infinite amount of knowledge that we can then discover.
Do you know that? Because you said you don't know anything, but you're making knowledge claims.
I mean,
so that shows you actually know deep down that God is real, because you're borrowing from our worldview to justify yours.
Making that statement, and it's kind of presumptuous. You got offended when I said things to the opposite, and I think rightly so. I try not to speak for you.
But I'm using your implications with your logic, right?
So when you speak for me, it definitely comes across in a way.
But I'm just using your logic to show you where it leads, because you said that you can't know anything. Therefore, you've abandoned knowledge. But then you're making knowledge claims. So that's contradictory, and that shows the problem with your worldview, is that your worldview can't give a justification for knowledge, but then you make...
problem with my worldview.
Well, not my problem, but it's the problem.
You don't like my worldview. I'm fine with my worldview.
You're fine with your worldview, but you already acknowledge that your worldview cannot give you an account for knowledge. You're saying your worldview
my worldview
is contradictory.
I have perfect information. You are correct.
But you said your worldview posits that you can't know anything, and that's contradictory.
I cannot know everything.
But I asked you, could you be wrong about everything you claim to know?
Sure, absolutely.
So then essentially you know nothing. And if you know nothing, that's a contradictory statement, meaning that the foundation of your worldview is impossible.
I think there's a really big difference between saying you know nothing and you know everything. And I think there's a difference between saying I could be wrong, but I'm probably not.
Well, what solidifies your foundation?
Like, okay, is there a teacup flying around Pluto right now made this year in America?
I would say I know there's not, because that goes against the laws of nature.
Could be.
No, there couldn't be.
Could be some weird
That's a metaphysical impossibility.
Quantum teleportation could cause a teacup to be there, but it's not. Realistically,
no, I would say it's impossible.
We just have to work within a
using logic, using the natural laws of science, that would be impossible.
I think you haven't looked into enough science to understand things like quantum teleportation.
Well,
if you think it's literally
but the problem is, though, in your worldview, we can't understand anything, because you said that we can't know anything.
We cannot be certain.
Can you be certain about that statement?
You can be certain about nothing.
So, are you certain about that statement? You see how I'm flipping the claim back on itself and showing you how it's contradictory? You're saying we can't be certain about anything. Can you be certain about that statement?
No one can be certain about anything.
So then essentially your statement is weightless then. Your statement has no meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Well, no, to you, because I'm using...
No, don't talk for me.
This is an internal critique, though. I'm using your words, and I'm showing you where it leads. You're saying, I can't be certain about anything. If I drew that on a whiteboard and I asked you, can you be certain about that statement, you'd have to say no. So what you're doing is you're having certainty for uncertainty. That's contradictory. And that shows the faultiness in your worldview.
I disagree.
All right.
Well, I don't know why you disagree. I mean, you're showcasing that essentially there are epistemological issues with how you're forming these conclusions, and we're asking, how do you know that these are inherently justified? That's what we're asking.
Yeah.
Because we agreed upon necessary foundations that accompany the theistic framework. So in essence, we should be progressing. We shouldn't be going in circles.
Here's the problem, right?
Yeah.
If you found out that you are actually under the effects of a strong medication, you would not know it right now. You would only know it after you are no longer affected by that medication.
Yeah.
Now, you cannot be certain that you are not. No one can be certain that they are not. That does not mean that you should not act in such a way as that you are not, right? I have to act in a way that is consistent with what works for me at some. It is just not useful to doubt everything all the time.
Are you certain about that statement?
I don't have the brain power. No one does.
Yeah.
Okay?
But you see how you're making...
I have to act as if, whether it's true or not.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's true or not, I have to act as if...
Like an illusion.
My existence, my motion, my movement, my decisions are not being influenced by really strong chemical drugs.
That's what we call delusion, though.
We cannot be certain that they are not being influenced in that way. That does not mean that what I think has no weight or bearing or value in my life.
But Andrew, the problem is you're contradicting yourself every time you speak, because you already said that you can't have certainty about anything, but then you're making claims of certainty. Everything you're saying relies on certainty being true. You're saying we can't know anything. You're saying we have to. You're making a bunch of truth claims that require certainty. These things are impossible if your first premise is true. So you have a starting point that contradicts itself. This is called a roadrunner tactic, where you flip a claim back on itself to see if it's true. And it shows you the absurdity in your worldview. And it shows that you're borrowing from God to argue against God. So your worldview can only work if you borrow from ours. And that's why your worldview is impossible. Well, I know you disagree, but your disagreement wouldn't have much weight here, because your disagreement is uncertainty to you in your paradigm.
I disagree with you. I think my statements have lots of weight.
But you said you're uncertain about every statement, though.
Pretty sound to me.
But you're uncertain about everything. So even your disagreements with me would be uncertain.
I cannot be 100% certain about anything.
Okay.
That doesn't mean
that
there's no value in 99% or 98% or 97%.
So what's the symmetry breaker? How do you know you're 99% certain and not 100%? Well, like, what's that difference between that 1%? What's the symmetry breaker?
First of all, I don't know where my percentage numbers are. Okay?
So it's arbitrary.
I don't have a way to measure.
But Andrew, everything you're saying is essentially arbitrary. You're giving me numbers, you're giving me truth claims, but then telling me there's technically not really truth. You're telling me there's no certainty. Well, that's a certain claim. So then it's problematic, because you're kind of just using arbitrary words. Like our words aren't having meaning anymore. Everything is baseless. The way I see it is this, right? What you're trying to do, Andrew, is this. You have a roof, you have walls, you have the chandeliers, but you don't have a foundation. So you're trying to build a house on the air. What you're missing is a foundation. And that's why you need to believe in God, because God is that necessary foundation. God is a precondition for even this conversation to exist.
You are very certain of that. And I'm glad that you have certainty in everything that you're saying. I'm glad that allows you to simplify your life in that way. But it does not make your life more accurate. It just makes it simpler.
Well, it comes down to if it's true. It comes down to if it's true.
Well, it comes down to if it's true. But you are too human to know the answer to that.
How so? Doesn't that mean you're too human to know the answer of that claim?
Yeah.
So then essentially we're both wrong. You see the problem with that is, if I'm too human to know truth, then so are you.
I think you're
Therefore, that statement has no weight.
I think you're uncomfortable with lacking 100% certainty in everything you say.
I'm uncomfortable with contradictory starting points. Well, it's not that. It's just that we have to examine truth. We have to justify our beliefs to make sure that we're actually, believing the right things. And all I'm saying is that
beliefs are founded in pure logic. I don't think that your beliefs are founded on
they're founded in Revelation.
All of your logic is founded on a bed of sand. It is founded.
That's ironic, Andrew. It really is ironic, because
it is.
My foundation is revelation. My foundation is firm. It's the Word of God. It's rock solid.
Mental health medication that was wrong for you, I think you would start to notice how weak that foundation can get. And I don't think you've had that experience.
Well, that's impossible in my paradigm, because I have a starting point of revelation, not speculation.
Indeed, so I'm glad that you don't take the wrong medications, because that would really shatter your worldview then.
Oh, wait, no. I was saying that there's no possibility for my foundation to be wrong, because my foundation is starting by revelation. It's starting off what I can know. And that's natural revelation, special revelation.
So there's a deductive model and thought process that we're applying to justify our premises.
I think the deductive process has a lot of value, but it does not.
But is it consistent? That's the thing.
It's as consistent as it needs to be. I am roughly happy with the level of consistency that it has.
But your position doesn't have consistency.
It
So
has consistency. It does not have perfection.
No,
I don't understand why you...
Andrew, your standard does not have any
acknowledge
consistency.
that difference.
Consistency.
Do you think that his statement that there's no distinction there, you think that it's like all or nothing?
Well, would you agree that his? Would you agree that? Well, I mean, he would agree with me. He's a Christian as well. But
just because he...
Would you agree that his foundation?
For himself.
Would you agree? Would you agree that his worldview is very inconsistent?
I would say it's inconsistent in the sense that you're applying logical principles without thoroughly defining them, and I think that's where there's a discontinuity.
Do you believe that there is no distinction between having perfect knowledge and zero knowledge?
No, there's a distinction. We actually believe, Andrew.
Do you believe that me saying I cannot be 100% certain about something is the same as me saying I know nothing?
Yes.
I'm not talking to you, I'm asking this man.
I agree with you.
Okay, so you believe that the difference between 100% certainty and not 100% certainty is 0%. There's nothing in between.
No.
Like,
I'm saying that we have two distinct epistemic classifications.
Sure.
Now, what's solidifying and justifying both subsets of belief? And before we progress, let's not be disrespectful, right? We're just a group conversation.
Well, I'm trying not to be disrespectful, but I asked you a question and then he interrupted you answering to ask a different question.
I didn't feel interrupted, but I thank you for...
I felt that you didn't answer the question because he jumped in. Well, and that's not a respectful exchange.
This is a group conversation, right? All three of us are engaging in a dialogue concerning the...
I'm sorry I offended you.
Worldviews.
I apologize.
I'm not allowed to ask other people of the group what they think.
Let's progress.
All right. Well, I apologize. I apologize for offending you. Then.
Yeah, don't worry. We're having a beautiful conversation, Andrew. I think we're reaching conclusions, right? Now, notice how every time it gets to deeper in the conversation,
the conclusion, something happens.
Yeah. We're getting back to what justifies epistemic processes and classifications and subsets of data, right?
Sure.
Now, for instance, an individual can inductively, right, believe that there's a likelihood that the sky may truthfully be red, while another individual can see deductively that it's blue. These are two epistemic categories, right, of belief and subsets.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, what is justifying the underpinning of these legislations?
Well, I would say in the case of the sky is blue, we all agree that the sky is blue.
Is it actually blue though?
What is justifying this?
We have all agreed that that color is blue.
It's not because
we've all agreed that we see it.
Why?
Well, because you might not actually see the same color of blue I see. We might actually see different colors. Some people.
But then somebody would be wrong, though, right?
But
but vision impairment is
a
vision impairment is a defection, though. It's a perversion, though, is what we're saying.
Might see a different kind or color or hue of blue.
Hold on.
But because we all agree
that would be a perversion,
that the
though.
sky is blue.
I'll let Lou get his point. Let's let Lou get his point.
I'm here for it, but I gotta finish mine.
Yeah,
I got you.
That would be a perversion, though. So you're using that as a smokescreen to make truth relative and subjective. But
he asked me a question.
Yeah.
How do we know? Why do we all agree that the sky is blue? And my answer is because we have agreed on it. Because it is more useful to say that's blue, and maybe at some level we see different things, but it's useful enough to just call that blue and call it a day.
Useful.
Yeah.
Useful presupposes functionality and order. What is your justification for functionality and order in your worldview? Well, that's circular, though.
Yeah,
That's circular.
At some level,
that's fallacious reasoning, though, because that begs the question of literally what I'm asking. I'm asking, how do you ground functionality and order in your worldview? And you're just saying it just is.
I have to eat a sandwich.
But that's not justification, though, because if you ask me, then how do I know God's real? And I said, yo, God's just real, believe it. That would be circular.
What it sounds like you
well, it's not. I'm giving you arguments from reason. I'm giving you epistemic justification. You're just kind of giving me, it is what it is. I say so.
I haven't seen.
You see how that's not productive to the conversation, though?
I didn't start the conversation.
I mean, I know, but I'm just saying, do you not see how conversations presuppose, universal truths, decorum, cordiality, all these types of things that, we're going to abide by.
That's the whole point of a conversation is that you have different viewpoints.
Different views, but
you're trying to come together.
But cordiality, decorum, and universal truths, we're using logic, right?
I don't see it that way. Your response is that's fallacious. And I get
If you
why,
contradict your own
but
reasoning,
it's
yes.
not effective.
Well, your worldview isn't effective. That's what we're trying to show. I'm glad you just realized that your worldview is not effective. It's impossible. It's a logical absurdity.
You think that
That's why we want you to believe in God.
that you're having right now
Yeah.
is useful.
Yes. The Bible says so. The Bible
You
tells me
think
to,
that-
I'm trying to call you into the light, my friend, into the
don't think
gospel,
you are.
into the gospel.
I'm trying to
So here,
prove a point.
can I respond? Well, yeah, I am trying to prove a point, but I'm also trying to understand you, and that's why I'm able to demonstrate your worldview as false, because I'm listening to what you're saying, and then I'm showing you the implications of your statements. So what I'm trying to do, Andrew, is this, right? I mean, it looks like, we're at an impasse here, so I'll leave it at this, but what I'm trying to show you, Andrew, is that your worldview is impossible, it's absurd, and the only worldview that makes sense and that can give you eternal life and salvation is the worldview of Christianity, in which Jesus Christ dies on the cross and rises on the third day so that you can have everlasting life. And I call you to the Christian faith. You know what I'm saying?
I think that you don't like to see the gradients that exist, and that it is more simplistic for you to decide rather than to examine. And that's
All right.
okay. I'm glad that's working for you.
All right,
But
well-
it doesn't work for everyone, and it doesn't work for me.
Well, that's my goal. My goal is to show Andrew, like, Andrew, it's either Christ or it's chaos, it's God or it's absurdity. And that's why I want to remove stumbling blocks in your thought process and perception so that you can see the gospel.
Yeah,
So,
that doesn't sound like a conversation, though. That sounds like a sermon.
it sounds like both, because I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm responding. And then I'm,
But your
positing
whole-
things.
The whole reason you're here is to try to
Bring you to the
prove
truth.
your worldview is true.
Absolutely, yeah.
And override any worldview I have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's
But doing
not
so
a
with grace,
conversation.
doing so with love, and also doing so with hearing
I
you.
don't get a lot of grace or love from you.
Really?
I get that.
All right. Well, it was nice to meet you then. It was a pleasure
I don't think
speaking.
it was, man.
All right. Well, it was fun speaking with you, Andrew.
I don't
God
think
bless.
you-
I hope you
Do
understand.
you feel like you're having fun right now? Because I don't feel like you
It's not.
seem that.
It's not about fun. It's about a pursuit of truth. It's
So
about
then why are you
trying to
saying
bring
had
you.
fun?
Because I enjoyed speaking with you.
Did you?
Yes.
You don't seem like you.
All right. Well, you have a blessed day. All right. God bless you, Andrew. The truth is offensive. People get mad. People get irritated, but we try to, reason with people and bring them to the truth. But Jesus says that people love the darkness rather than light. So we keep trying, keep pursuing, and there's more fish in the sea. God bless.